Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Melanie McLean, Affinity Business Planner at York University, and it's my pleasure to be your host and moderator for today for this Introduction to Business Insurance web chat. A warm welcome to everyone in attendance today. Thank you for joining us. Before I introduce you to our business insurance experts, I want to share a few items with you. If at any time during the session you need help with this experience, feel free to click on the Q&A button on the bottom of your screen and enter your question. Our team is ready to help you. Now, I'd like to take a moment to offer York's land acknowledgement. Although we aren't all in the same location, we recognize many Indigenous nations have long-standing relationships with the territories upon which York University's campuses are located that precede the establishment of York University. York acknowledges its presence on the traditional territory of many Indigenous nations. The area known as Takaranto has been caretaken by the Anishinaabe Nation, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, and the Huron-Wendat. It is now home to many First Nation, Inuit, and Métis communities. We acknowledge the current treaty holders, the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. This territory is subject of the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Belt Covenant, an agreement to peaceably share and care for the Great Lakes region. It's a time of great change at York, and we've been making remarkable progress. There are a few updates I want to briefly share with you. The new Markham campus opened its doors this past September, embedding York in the heart of one of the most diverse and dynamic urban communities in the province and in the country. Markham campus will drive innovation in technology and entrepreneurship and offers revolutionary programs like digital technologies, where students will spend 80% of their time in experiential learning while earning a salary. I'm also thrilled to announce that York is one step closer to getting a medical school. The government of Ontario announced that it will be investing in a new York University School of Medicine, giving the university the green light to proceed with its development. There are so many updates I could share, but I'll end there so we can maximize your time with our guest speakers today. I want to thank you all again for joining us and being such an integral part of the York University community. And now it's my pleasure to introduce you to today's guest speakers, Sidra Khan and Shalisa Hussein Alifano. Sidra Khan is a trusted insurance and strategy professional with 10 plus years of experience driving high impact strategic initiatives across national and global markets. She has proven expertise in profit and loss management, business acquisition, and collaboration with senior executives across industries, including fast-moving customer goods, finance, portfolio management, and insurance. A demonstrated history of delivering results through inclusive leadership and cross-functional teamwork. And she's fully bilingual in English and Urdu, with professional experience in Canada, Australia, the UK, bringing a global perspective to every endeavor. And our co-presenter is Shalisa Hussein Halifano, and she's a proud York alum. She earned her bachelor's degree in business and society. Shalisa is currently in the role of acquisition and business development manager with 18 years in the insurance industry, 14 with TD Insurance. She's had exposure to diverse functional areas and departments, including claims, business architecture, business management, as well as contribution to successful execution of large-scale projects by driving key initiatives to deliver impactful results. She is a resourceful, detail-oriented, analytical professional with a sound understanding of strategic planning and proficiency in forming collaborative partnerships. Welcome, Shalisa and Sidra. If you'd like to turn on your camera so we can see you. Hi.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Shalisa. Hi, Sidra.
Hello. My camera is not starting. It says that I think a host has to enable it.
Oh, okay. Maybe our behind the scenes crew can help you with that. I'll just want to say how grateful we are to have you both here today to share your passion. There you are.
Yeah, okay.
We're so grateful to have you here to share your passion for empowering small businesses and for helping York alumni and friends to navigate the intricacies of small business insurance. We're delighted you're here. And after your presentation, we'll have a Q&A session and we'll open the floor for the audience to ask us questions. So without further delay, over to you. I will turn off my camera and I'll come back later.
Thank you.
you.
Okay, just want to check that you can all see the presentation.
No, can't see it.
Nope.
Cannot. Okay, let's try that one more time.
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Okay.
All right, awesome. Just to, I guess, start, I want to start off like we will be using Slido today just to make the presentation a little bit more interactive. So if you can please use the QR code or the code listed below to just join on Slido, that would be great just to keep it a little bit interactive. So I'll just give everybody a minute to do that. Okay, awesome. Do we want to move on, Shalisa? Perfect. I guess I'll just start off. Melanie gave a great introduction, so I won't add too much to that. Just on a personal note, I guess. She mentioned I had international experience. I'm originally from Australia. That's going to be the funky accent that you hear throughout this presentation. So I apologize in advance if, I sound very different. And on a personal note, I have a 3-year-old son as well who usually keeps me busy. He's at daycare right now, but he definitely keeps me on my toes all day, every day. Just a disclaimer that in this presentation we'll be presenting content, and it is advice-based content, so it's to be used on a general knowledge basis. If you do have a current insurance policy and specific wordings in that policy, it supersedes the content of this presentation in the event that there is a conflict. Okay, perfect. So just want to basically, I guess, go through what we'll be running through in this seminar. So we will be identifying a few benefits and features of commercial insurance coverage. So more kind of going through a bit of the basics. We will try to bust a few common insurance myths that we have noticed through our time in this industry, and then hopefully look at some different factors that influence your premium, as well as some things that can help you save on your premium and some discounts that you may want to learn more about. Perfect. So let's kick off by just giving some important insights into small businesses, where we are today in the market, and level set a little bit before we deep dive into the overall agenda. So as you can see on this slide, 1 in 6 small businesses do not have insurance coverage. So they don't have business insurance coverage, at least, or so they've stated. And more recently in a survey that we've done, that number's actually gone up to 45%, or 1 in 2 believe that they don't have business insurance coverage. And of those that do have coverage, only half of them are confident in the coverage that they have. So it kind of shows us basically that there is a need for advice on what type of coverage a business needs and what are the different essential coverages that are available out there that businesses should consider. Generally, in our view, we define a small business as one with less than $5 million in revenue and less than 100 employees. And within Canada, small businesses are crucial to the success of the economy. So we know that about 98% of Canadian businesses are classified as small businesses, and that's according to StatCan. So it's a huge part of the economy. What we have learned through our research is that for business owners like yourself, it's important to receive this support and understanding of the risks that face your business. And 2 in 3 businesses say it's a prime concern. They don't really understand what risk their business is facing. And so today, as part of the agenda, as I mentioned before, we'll go through a few of the basic essential coverages you should be aware of, and then bust a few myths and hopefully go into some Q&A at the end while incorporating Slido to keep this a little bit interactive. Okay, so let's do the first Slido. So first Slido, what is an equipment floater? Is it coverage for contents kept on a boat? Is it coverage for contents that are commonly moved away from an insured building location? Is it warranty coverage for equipment repairs? Or is it coverage for equipment that is stationary in one location? So just wait for a few responses. And there's no right or wrong answer. I mean, like, we wouldn't expect everyone to know this, of course.
Just a general test before everyone
Yeah.
we get into it. Okay, I think we've had 2 people respond.
Okay, maybe like give it a few more seconds.
Is there a prize for getting it right?
Bragging
rights. Bragging rights. All right.
Okay.
Okay. Perfect. All right. So yeah, it is coverage for contents that are commonly moved away from an insured building location. So that's correct, the 67%. But I can also understand why we would think it's coverage for equipment that is stationary in one location, just given the name equipment floater. But I understand. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. Thanks to everybody who participated in that. So what are some essential commercial coverages? So I usually like to break this down into three main commercial insurance products, and I'll discuss them one by one. So usually I break this down in commercial property, commercial general liability, and commercial auto insurance. And then under each of these, there are sub coverages. There is a fourth category too, and I will get into that. But I'll just start off with the first three and then go into the fourth. So as you can see here, commercial property insurance, it's really what the name implies. It's very straightforward. It is building coverage. And basically it provides essential coverage for physical loss or damage to your building. And that could be from insured events such as fire or theft, or potentially like a water main bursting on your street. Contents includes coverage for physical loss or damage to your tools, your equipment, office supplies, any inventory that's kept on premises of your insured commercial building that you've listed against your policy. For this coverage to apply, it's essential that your building location be insured on the policy. So examples of contents coverage may include, let's say you're a photographer. You may want coverage for your studio or your photography equipment, or you may be a retail store owner. You may want coverage for your inventory. So there are a lot of different use cases where you would need contents coverage. Within another sub coverage within commercial property is business interruption or business income coverage. And this is a very common type of coverage that most business owners feel they need. And in a recent survey, we actually found that income and business interruption is one of the risks that business owners are most concerned about. So this coverage is basically when your business is forced to shut down due to an insured event. So it may help you by covering income lost for the period that you're shut down, as well as additional expenses incurred. In this case, an insured event, the loss has to be an insured event for the coverage to apply. So let's go through some examples of what insurable losses under business interruption may include. So let's say you're a bakery and your building experiences significant fire damage. Not only do you lose the value of the building, but also your ability to continue operations at this location because it's now unusable. You may need to rent an additional location to continue your operations, and that's an extra expense that you previously didn't have to account for. You may also, because you have a temporary location now, it may result in lower revenues because your customers knew your main location. That's what was known to them. And so you're getting less customers now. So that's a situation where business interruption would kick in for the loss in revenue, but also the additional expense that you have incurred. Let's say you have a manufacturing business and a water main on the street of your business location bursts. The police and fire department have blocked off the street from people being able to access it, and now your location can no longer be accessed, and that results in a loss of revenue for that temporary scenario. Or in the event that there is a major windstorm in the area and your business is not able to operate, this may cause a mass power outage. And so again, this would be an insurable loss under business interruption, where for the period that you are shut down, the income that you lose in that period or the revenue would be covered. So the other piece on this slide is equipment floaters. So this is coverage for contents that are commonly moved away from your insured building location. So for example, if you're a contractor, you take tools on site, you would need a floater to cover the equipment that travels with you. It isn't something that's traditionally covered under commercial auto. So you do need something in property to cover the equipment that you're taking with you to visit your clients. The second bucket is commercial general liability insurance, and this and hopefully it's something common that most business owners tend to have. If they don't have the property, they usually tend to have CGL at a minimum. It protects you and your company from losses, financial losses that are caused by third-party claims involving bodily injuries, property damage, as well as personal and advertising injury resulting from your products, services, or operations. So it's a mouthful of a definition. So we'll break it down into what that means in terms that we can all understand. So the first type of coverage is what we traditionally call slip and fall coverage. So this is for those bodily injury claims that I mentioned. It would provide protection in instances where a customer is injured on your premises and you're found liable. So it could cover things like medical expenses for the customer, as well as if the customer is taking action against you, any related legal fees or settlement costs. So an injury has occurred to the customer in this situation. Second, if you manufacture, sell, or distribute products, you may need product liability coverage within CGL, and this would protect your business from claims that are related to your products causing property damage or injury to your customers. So for example, if you're a contractor and you worked on cabinets in a client's home, and those cabinets collapse a few weeks later, not because you did something wrong, but they just happened to collapse. They damaged the customer's flooring, they injured the customer, and therefore that's something where the product liability may kick in. Or you might be a makeup artist and you've done makeup on a client, and then a few hours later they've had an allergic reaction to the products that you use, and they need to go to the hospital for treatment. So this coverage may respond if the customer is taking action against you for the medical fees, if you're found liable, and potentially any legal fees that result as well. The other coverage within here is personal and advertising injuries. So this is when you unintentionally cause damage to another person or business's personal or intellectual rights. So for example, let's say you're a retailer and you see someone going around your store and you suspect that they are shoplifting, but they were actually innocent, they hadn't done any shoplifting, and later they take action against you, the store, for this. Or you're a plumber and you've unknowingly advertised that your service, you've unknowingly used a copyrighted slogan for your service of a similar plumbing company, and now that company is taking action against you for using their copyrighted slogan. So those are like the main pieces. Other things to consider is tenants' legal liability. So in most cases, businesses tend to rent their premises or space, and this coverage kind of applies if you unintentionally cause damage to the space. So it would help cover the loss of damage to your landlord's property. So for example, let's say you back a forklift into one of the walls, or if one of your employees accidentally microwaves foil and it causes a fire. So situations like that is where tenants' legal liability may apply. I did mention earlier that there is a fourth bucket, so I'll touch on that. It's not on the slide, but just because I know that it usually does interest people to learn more about it. There is something called professional liability insurance, or errors and omissions insurance. This is a type of insurance that basically protects companies, their workers, and other professionals within the firm against claims of inadequate work or negligent actions. So, for example, if you're a tile installer, you've completed work on a new house being constructed. However, when you've gone to install the wood flooring, you discover that the height of the wood floor and the tiles don't match. And that's because you made a measurement error in the initial process. So you haven't physically injured anyone. So this is where it's important, the distinction between professional liability and CGL. You haven't physically injured anyone. You haven't caused any property damage, but the third party suffered a financial loss. So that's important. A financial loss has to apply for professional and liability insurance, and that would not be covered under standard CGL policy or commercial general liability policy. So that's what professional liability or errors and omissions insurance is for. The last bucket, I think it's the most common. It's very similar. So commercial auto insurance is very, very similar to personal auto and the types of coverages that would be available there, where you would be covered for bodily injury and property damages to a third party in an at-fault accident under third-party liability. You also have access to accident benefits, and that helps you, your employees, or so the key difference, your employees, or a pedestrian that is injured in a car accident. It also helps cover the medical expenses and income replacement and any other services that are deemed necessary for recovery for you, your employees, or the third party. And then there's physical damage coverage. So similar to commercial auto, it's optional. Basically it's physical damage. So you might get collision coverage, and that would cover your vehicle in a collision with another fixed object. And usually that involves an at-fault collision with a third-party vehicle, but may also include a hit-and-run incident. You may opt to get comprehensive coverage to cover you against insured events, such as if there's hail and that causes damage, if there's vandalism to your vehicle, and so on and so forth. And you may choose to add endorsements, such as loss of use, which may cover the cost of a rental vehicle while your vehicle is being repaired due to an insured event. I won't get into the difference between commercial auto and personal auto right now because we do go into a myth later about this. So I won't get into that right now, but we'll move on to our next Slido, and then I'll pass it to Shaliza. So true or false? If you have a home-based business, your home insurance policy will always cover you.
Okay. We have a few people who responded. I can give it another minute or so. Okay. I don't see any more movement, so I think I will expose the answer there.
Perfect. Okay, so yes, the majority of you are correct. It is false, and I'll pass it over to Shaliza now, who will tell you why that is the case.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Sidra. So I'm going to actually go into talking about some of the myths. So, well, the first myth was your home insurance policy will cover your home-based business. So this is not necessarily true. Usually, a traditional home insurance policy would not cover activities, contents, or liability events that are related to your home-based business. So here's what would be you would be at risk for. So, first, the coverage for your equipment and tools might be much lower than what would be offered under a commercial insurance policy. So, say you're a home based photographer with a studio in your basement, the level of coverage you receive through your home insurance policy may not be adequate to cover you in the situation. So, it is important to communicate with your insurance provider just to ensure that you don't also require specific business insurance coverage. If a customer, say, is visiting your home based business for business purposes and they slip and fall and they're injured, your home insurance policy may not cover you if you were found to be liable. Let's say you're an independent consultant and one of your clients visits you in the afternoon. On their way out, they slip on the pavement, injuring themselves. A home based insurance policy may not cover the medical fees that your is pursuing you for, or if your client decides to file a suit or take court action, then the settlement and legal fees as well may not be covered under a home policy. So, similarly, product liability may not be covered. For example, if you're a baker, you sell cupcakes to a customer, and then the customer gets food poisoning. If the customer takes action against you, your home based policy may not cover the legal fees or any of the settlement costs. Professional liability or that E&O that Sidra alluded to earlier, it may not be available to you under your home insurance policy. So, for example, if you're a photographer and you've spent your weekend shooting a wedding, you return home to your home office. Let's say you've lost the memory card and you can't produce the photos of the married couple after the wedding day. If they sue you for failure to deliver services, this is something that most likely would not be covered under a home insurance policy. In addition, generally a home based insurance policy will not cover you for any loss of income if your business is temporarily shut down due to an insured event such as a flooding in your business, a fire breaking out, or a break in or theft that's leaving damage that needs to be repaired. In this case, you would need business interruption or business income coverage. So I'll move on now to the second myth. And myth number two is that your personal auto policy will cover the vehicle you use for your business. So, similarly, personal auto insurance policies often contain exclusions for commercial usage. This means that if you use your personal vehicle for commercial purposes and you're involved in an accident, then your claim may be denied. A personal vehicle is generally used to drive to and from work or to run errands, such as picking up groceries or personal visits. The time that you spend on the road, it does vary between personal and commercial use. So, commercial vehicles are typically used for transporting goods or equipment, making deliveries, or driving to job sites. Therefore, they spend more time on the road and they're exposed to different types of risks compared to personal vehicles. In addition, if you have employees who drive your vehicle for commercial purposes, commercial auto policies can also provide coverage for liability, medical expenses, and other damages that may arise in an accident involving your employees. So, again, speak to your we always give you this advice of speaking to your insurance provider just to make sure that you do have the current or auto policy that actually would cover you for these different types of situations and risks, or whether you might need a commercial policy that to ensure that you are adequately protected. Okay, what we'll do is we'll jump into another Slido before we move on to our next section. So this one is a bit of a word cloud. So type in whatever words come to your mind. The question is, what do you think are some ways to save on business insurance? And just to clarify again, you can enter in just a word in the Slido for this one. I see some participants typing. Unsure. So looks like this might be a topic that might be of interest to educate you guys on. I'll give it a couple seconds more in case anybody does want to actually uh, type something in. Okay, two more people typing. Okay, there are a couple more people coming in. So security, we do have the multiple policies, the fireproof material. Okay, so I will actually just pivot into the next section that will give you some information about ways that you can save. So it is important to carry insurance to provide yourself with financial protection on risks that you're exposed to on a daily basis. So, the short term saving may entice you not to purchase insurance, but if you have a claim, the expense amount may be significant and it can hinder a business operation as well as financials. In certain situations, you may be forced to shut down temporarily. So, some of the ways that you can save on your insurance is through bundling your policies. So, someone did mention that the multiple policies. Many insurers offer discounts when you bundle multiple types of insurance coverages together. So, this could be packaging your commercial property or liability policy with a commercial auto policy. If you're an alumni, as you are, to a Canadian college or university, or if you're a member of a professional association, some insurers have partnerships that could enable you to get a discount on your insurance policy. So when you're speaking with a provider, you would just mention your affiliation there, and they could give you some more information about if a discount is available. In addition, if you have winter tires installed on your vehicle, many insurers will reward this through a discount as it does reduce your risk when you're on the roads. Some insurers are also willing to provide a discount on your commercial auto policy if you have an anti theft device installed. Another way that you could save is if you have multiple vehicles registered to your business, your insurance provider may provide you with it's called a multi vehicle discount that would be placed on your policy. In addition, we try to reduce our carbon footprint. So some insurance providers have actually started um, rewarding customers that drive an electric vehicle and rewarding them for being green. Okay, so it is important, again, be transparent with your provider. Let them know about any of these, and then there may be multiple discounts that are available too. And of course, they're not limited to the ones that I've mentioned. It is, of course, a bit dependent on your business.
Shaliza, I'll just add one thing because I did
Yeah.
see a comment in the chat
Oh,
about
yeah.
whether we would be touching on how to save on business insurance. I know you're going to get into the factors that influence premium.
Hmm.
All of these discounts, they are like for specifically in this case, we are talking about business insurance. Some of these may also be relevant to your personal policy. The only one that's, I guess, one additional one that you may want to think about if you're thinking about discounts and ways to save is some insurers, like depending on their trifecta and what kind of relationships they have, they may also offer you a discount on business insurance if you've actually got a banking relationship with them or a personal insurance relationship with them. So that's another one that to think of as well. But yeah, all of these are relevant to business as well.
Awesome. Thank
Sorry,
you.
Scott.
Perfect. So as mentioned, I'll jump into some of the factors that actually impact your premium. So there are several key factors that influence the calculation of insurance premiums, and understanding these can provide you with some of the insights that you need into the pricing mechanism and help you identify ways that can manage your insurance costs. So the first one is industry and the nature of the business. So the type of business that you operate plays a crucial role in determining your insurance premium. Restaurants, for example, may face foodborne illness claims, which is a different liability exposure compared to, say, a photographer that's taking professional headshots and influences the insurer's perception of risk and consequently the premium accordingly. Annual revenue. Typically, greater revenue levels are associated with increased customer interaction, leading to higher potential liability exposures. So, for example, a high traffic clothing or retail store, it's more likely to face slip and fall incidents. Revenue is also directly related to exposure for business income losses. So, if this said clothing store purchased business interruption insurance, the store's higher revenue means that potential losses from any operational disruption, it can significantly be larger compared to a similar business that yields a lower revenue. So, therefore, the cost of business interruption insurance is influenced by the type of the industry and also how quickly operations can resume following a business interruption loss. Third thing, location. Where your business is located can significantly impact your premiums. So, areas that are prone to natural disasters, high crime rates, or other risks can increase the likelihood of claims, thereby affecting your insurance cost. Insurers may assess geographical data and historical claims from similar businesses in your area in order to evaluate a risk. And fourth, it's claim history. So a history of frequent claims, it can indicate potential risks and it may lead to higher insurance premiums. Conversely, a clean history with few to no claims, it can be advantageous as insurers may see this as a sign of a well-managed, lower risk business. So underscoring the importance of proper risk management and safety protocols for your operations. And the fifth one is coverage details. So the specifics of your policy, including your coverage limits and deductibles, they play a significant role in determining your premiums. For example, opting for higher coverage limits, it provides more protection, but it also increases the cost of your premium. Similarly, if you choose a lower deductible, it means you'll pay less out of pocket in the event of a claim, but it may also result in a higher premium. Okay, so, I will actually now move into ways that you can protect your business. So, there are different ways to mitigate the likelihood of accidents and to also streamline the claims process. The first way you can do this is by maintaining safe work environments. Implementing safety measures and following best practices can reduce the likelihood of accidents and claims. The number of claims you have may impact your premium, as I just mentioned, and it's important for your business to have a safe working environment. So, here are some examples of ways that you can maintain a safe work environment. The first thing is just conducting regular safety measures and training with your employees on procedures, emergency protocols, and the proper use of equipment. So this will help in avoiding injuries to your employees, yourself, your customers, and it will reduce the risk of a liability incident. Secondly, you can conduct regular safety inspections to identify potential hazards. So, for example, exposed wiring, any potential leaks or slippery floors. Once it's identified, it is important to take steps to address these hazards to prevent accidents. So, for example, if you notice a leak or a crack in your roof, this could eventually lead to a major property damage in the event of a storm or hail. And it could mean you have to shut down your operations for a while until you can get back on your feet and you wouldn't be able to service your customers in the meantime. Third thing is ensuring that you have access to safety equipment on site. So, having things like fire extinguishers, first aid kits, very important. Even having a certified first aid officer on site will help. On the auto side, having approved anti-theft devices installed on your vehicle, it can help in the event that your vehicle is stolen. An anti-theft device, it can help locate and retrieve your vehicle. So it'll help you avoid having to make a claim or pay the deductible and also be without a car for too long. It is important to check with your insurance provider on what their approved anti-theft devices are. And then again, as mentioned earlier, you could also qualify for a discount if you have one. Keeping detailed reports. So, documenting your business assets, operations, and financial information is important. Maintaining those detailed records of any incidents or claims that may arise. So, you want to keep track of things like the date, the time that the incident happened. If you have your phone and it's safe to do so, take a photo of any of the damages. This can help streamline the claims process and ensure that you receive appropriate compensation at the time of settlement and regularly reviewing and updating your insurance coverage. So, as your business grows, as it changes, it's important to inform your insurance provider of any changes in your business operations, such as a change in revenue, change in location, purchase of a new vehicle, or if you're extending your product or service offering. So, for example, if you are a residential plumber or an electrician and you're looking at doing commercial or industrial jobs and hiring additional employees to help you, you would want to update your insurer about this. And another way to ensure adequate protection for your business is through a professional evaluation of your building and equipment or an appraisal. So, in the event of a loss, if the valuation of the property is accurate or inaccurate, I should say, and the insurance coverage may be insufficient, which could result in significant financial loss for you as the owner. So, all of these steps through though some might be obvious, they are very important in helping to ensure that your premium doesn't go up due to too many claims. Make sure that you get back on your feet quickly and that you actually are adequately protected. Citra, anything you wanted to add there? Okay, perfect. So I will quickly wrap up just by uh, calling out a few key points about business continuity and having a business continuity plan. The purpose for this is just to secure your business's future against disaster or any other potential disruptions. So, some key factors, I'll just call out 3 points that you should consider when putting together a business continuity plan. So, the first thing is thinking about your customers. So, their needs, any potential shifts in their purchasing behavior. The second thing is you want to understand your core business functions. So, what are critical and time sensitive functions? And how do you continue with your legal obligations or your financial commitments in the event of an interruption? And then finally, suppliers and vendors. So, are there any ways that you can diversify geographic locations of either your primary or alternative suppliers so that way you can mitigate a widespread risk or in the event of an interruption, or you can have a meaningful way of notifying or communicating with your suppliers and vendors in the event of interruption. So that really does conclude our presentation for today. We do hope that you found the information that we've provided to be useful and valuable to you. And right now we will pivot into a Q&A.
Thank you both. That was super informative. I don't need business insurance, but I feel like I could go about the process of figuring it out a little bit better now, at least. We have a question in the Q&A. I'll read it too, if that's okay. So
Yep.
you're a home-based consulting business where clients never physically come to your premises. Everything's either virtual or the client's property or at rented event spaces. Then what kind of insurance would be most needed and appropriate?
Okay. I mean, I can take this. Of course, it's really important to talk to like a licensed individual or advisor to kind of understand exactly specifically what insurance coverage you would need. But in general, if you're a home-based business and you are looking at specifically um, like visiting your clients really, and most of your setup is at home, the usual coverage that we see that most businesses would tend to go towards is commercial general liability coverage specifically. Especially because you're visiting the client's property or you're going to rented event spaces, CGL usually travels with you wherever you go. So let's say, I don't know, for whatever reason, you somehow managed, for some reason, this customer gets injured, one of your clients gets injured as a result of your operations, or you somehow damage their property, like you're mentioning, you're visiting their premises, for example, and let's say you go over and you've damaged their property. In situations like that is where CGL coverage would be important. As I mentioned, it travels with you. And then the other coverages that I would consider as a home-based business, like if I'm thinking about it, is we mentioned like some of the myths. So business interruption, for example, usually under a home insurance policy, in most cases, it doesn't cover the income if there's something that happens and you can't operate. So for example, I don't know, something happened, insurable loss, like for there's a hail or there's a power outage or there's a fire or anything like that, and suddenly you're not able to work anymore or you're out of business for a few months. In situations like that, business interruption coverage would kick in for those insurable losses. Of course, there's also your equipment and things like that. If for whatever reason the limit is not there on your personal, so sometimes the coverage limits can vary and the deductibles can vary as well, it may make more sense to put it under a commercial policy.
Just a follow-up question, because I think this might be important to people. You talked about commercial general liability and also professional liability. Those are two different things, right?
Yes.
Maybe you just recap what the differences are, who would
Yes.
switch. Yeah.
Yeah, so professional liability and commercial general liability, the main difference is that there has to be a financial loss for professional liability to kick in, and it is usually based on a act of negligence, an error, or an omission. So, for example, if you give advice to a client and they take you up on that advice and they have a loss, and in most cases it's rare that this would happen, but the client then takes action against you because they are holding you responsible for what's happened on their end because they've had a financial loss. They're not injured, their property hasn't been damaged, nothing like that has happened, but there has been some kind of a financial loss that has been incurred as a result of an act that, or advice that you gave. Or if you're a contractor, and I mentioned, like, potentially you haven't measured the tiles correctly and you've gone and installed the flooring, and now there's been a financial loss because the customer went and bought all this flooring and suddenly it's not actually fitting. Like, there are things like that, but there has to be a financial loss to the customer.
Would somebody who works in the real estate as a real estate agent, maybe as a side hustle or even full time, would they have professional liability insurance? Is that okay?
Yeah, exactly. Like a lot of businesses opt not to get it because like I said, the instances are rare, but obviously it's important because it can happen and it does happen.
And just to add to that as well, for real estate agents, accountants, for example, a lot of them are members of associations, and those associations may offer professional liability to their
As
members.
a standalone. As a
Yeah.
standalone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Okay.
there's that too. You would have to look into that.
So we do have time for some more questions. If anybody in the audience would like to ask something, write in the chat or write in the Q&A.
Melanie, I think there were two pre-submitted ones. I don't know, Shaliza, if you wanted to tackle those
Oh,
ones that you had.
um,
I can. I do
I
have
think we
them
have
here.
them. We have them.
you have them there. I saw
Yeah.
one. So,
Yeah.
okay, you ladies go for it. You have better eyes than I do.
Yeah, no worries. So, one of the questions that came through was, what are the insurance options for commercial units versus home offices? So, if clients are visiting the location. So, similar to the first question, except there were no visitors, it was virtual. This is if someone is visiting the household. So, this is something that we did cover when we spoke about the myths. So, a traditional home policy, it doesn't actually cover activities for contents, the liability or liability events. So this is a situation where you would actually want to get that specific commercial coverage. Coverage under home policy might not be adequate, where you have that loss related to your home, especially if you're liable. So you might recall that we mentioned coverage for certain equipment or tools. It might be lower on a home policy than what might be offered on a commercial policy. If a customer has a slip and fall when visiting your home-based business, if you're found liable again, then your home policy may not cover it. Or again, if the customer is pursuing you for medical fees, or if they file a suit or against you, then a home policy may not be adequate for those types of expenses. So that was sort of the first question. The second one, it was kind of a couple bits and pieces to it. So the question was asking about what different insurance types, liability, what's the cost, and when is insurance needed. So Sidra just spoke about the liability piece, and we touched on it in our presentation, so I won't go into that again. When it comes to cost, I did mention some factors that impact premiums, but again, costs do vary based on several different factors. So again, things like the type of business, size, the revenue of the business, the number of employees, as well as based on the type of coverage or limits that are being requested. So again, pricing, it is best to speak to an advisor or your provider directly, just to ensure that the needs of your business are being considered, and again that the coverage that you're getting is adequate for the needs. And then finally, like, when is insurance needed? There are many different scenarios when you might need insurance. So, for example, if you have a business, if you've been incorporated, or if you have customers that you're dealing with on a regular basis, and if you have, like, brick and mortar or building and contents that you need to protect, it is always recommended to have insurance coverage. So hopefully that helps a bit.
Is it, it's
Yeah.
very self-regulating in a way, isn't it? Like nobody's gonna come out and tell you you need to get business insurance. Like we do to drive our cars, we need car insurance. We know to get a mortgage, you need home insurance. Like, but is there any time in a person's launching a business that they're gonna be told that they need business insurance?
So the times where you may be told is if you're going to secure some financing, and then the bank may ask, like, do you have insurance? Again, that's if you're securing financing or anything, and you may be asked, like, can you give me a copy of your insurance, etc. But a lot of the times businesses don't know or don't realize, especially the ones that don't actually even need financing, right? They're just going to get incorporated and they're good and they're ready to go and everything. In those cases, like, those businesses don't know, and there's nowhere in the journey where they found out. So that's where when we did those surveys and we found it, especially the most recent one, like 45% of businesses said they don't have it. It was very surprising to us.
Yeah. And not only they don't have it, but they don't understand how much coverage they need, or they think they're protected if they just have a piece of coverage, but not looking really
Yeah.
at the overall risks.
Right.
Yeah.
What do you think stops people from calling and talking to a small business insurance agent?
I think it's misconceptions. Like, we mentioned some of the myths. So what we found a lot, like when we did that survey, one of the things that we found was a lot of people felt that if they have a home insurance policy, they're covered. So home-based businesses, they didn't realize that there were gaps, or, it's a bit of that education piece and awareness piece where they don't realize, even on the auto side, they don't realize that if they are carrying tools or equipment, that suddenly their personal auto is actually commercial. And of course, it's unfortunate because later on, like, if something happens, if a claim arises, and then you realize that it's actually commercial, it can cause issues down the line. But it is something to consider, and there is an education advice piece there's a bit of a gap there.
Sure. Just one other question. I'm curious because I'm familiar with car insurance. Is small business insurance regulated across the province? Would most of our alumni probably who are on this call are probably in Ontario, but I think there might be some from maybe the East Coast and the West Coast. Is there anything that they would have to know different from what you've explained today, or are there any differences from province to province or region to region?
For auto, it's pretty much similar to what it is on personal lines, regulations wise and everything. Property isn't as so much, so it's really not that different, to be honest. Same as home, I guess. Similar rules.
Well, any more questions coming in through the chat?
Don't see any.
Don't see anything. This has been really informative. I appreciate this. And I'm wondering if some of our attendees might come up with questions later. Is there a way for them to, would you like them to email us here at York and we can get some answers from you? Okay.
Yes, that would be great.
Yeah,
So
perfect.
we'll definitely do that. Sorry,
And Melanie, I was going to say before you wrap up, I was hoping to just share one more time because we did embed a short survey. I just want to make sure that everyone grabs the Slido one more time. We've left it open until tomorrow if people aren't able to do it right now on the spot. So I can also just share the code if people want to go to slido.com and do it that way, or grab the QR code. So I'll just quickly share
absolutely.
for a few more minutes and then allow you to wrap up.
Please do. Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. And I'll just, okay. So, okay. So here's the Slido one more time and the code. If you don't have access to get the QR code, you can absolutely go to slido.com and enter this number. And it's 3 short questions. It won't take much time, but it's always good to just understand how much value or not this presentation was for you guys, just so we can tailor it and improve on it for future sessions.
Yeah, and Melanie will send you the code as well in case, if possible, if you can send it out.
We'll probably do a little follow-up. So yeah, send me that and we can make sure it gets to the right people. Okay. Thank you,
Awesome.
Lisa and Sidra. Thank you so much for taking time to join us and share your expertise and knowledge. This has been wonderful. If you want to turn your cameras off, I'll just wrap up for the afternoon. So that was very informative. Great, insightful question answer. Thanks to everyone in the audience who had questions. I hope you learned what you need to know. And with that, our event's concluded. To find more information about all the upcoming Yorkview events, check out the listings on our website at yorkview.ca/alumni and friends. And thank you all for joining us. Wishing you all great success in your business ventures. Take care.